In this video, we're going to talk about adding screeners and setting up some additional project settings for our review. So in order to access the project settings for an existing review, we can click the icon that looks like a little gear in the menu. If you highlight the mouse over it, you see that it says Edit the Review. So if I click that, it will take me back to the Edit Review Project Settings screen, where it will show me the levels I have set up for my existing review. Now you'll notice at the bottom of the screen there's a button that says Display Additional Options. If I click that, I'll have access to some additional settings that I might want to change for my review. The first and probably most important thing is that I have my contact list here of all the reviewers that I might want to set up as level screeners for this review. This is basically a list of names of people who are also active screeners that I've added. And if I'd like to, I can set them up so that they can be screeners on this review. If you have a review that has more than one level, you can designate different screeners at each level. So let's see. So here I can check, I'm going to add David as a level screener. There's actually two types of permissions that you can set here. Level screeners get to do all the basic stuff like screening reviews, plus they can also answer questions, screen by title and abstract, and all of those sorts of things. Project admins can do all of that plus a bit more. They can also do things like change project settings like we're doing right now, and they can do a little bit more in the way of managing other users' responses. For example, they could intervene to resolve a screening conflict between screeners and access some additional reports. So I've made David a project screener, but I could also, for example, make Chris Thayer a project admin. So since I'm the person that created the review, whenever you create a review, you're automatically a project admin, but I can also delegate project admin responsibilities to other users. If there's a user that you'd like to add that's not in this list, you can invite them by clicking the invite button. And so here you can add your screener's first and last names and their email address, and then send them an invite. This will add them to your contact address book, and then send them an email with instructions about how to set up an account. So that's managing your users. Some other settings that are important, there's a drop down here that asks you how many times you would like for each reference to be screened. So this is the number of independent screeners that must review each article. By default, it's set up as 1. Probably a more sensible choice for most scenarios would be 2. Most systematic reviews, for example, require each citation to be dual screened. So if we change this to 2, then that will be the case. You can also set it to higher numbers depending on the needs of your project. And then Active Screener also does keyword highlighting. So you can add keywords that will be highlighted in titles and abstracts to draw your eye to important words. And so you can have different words for both inclusion and exclusion. So if I add the word zebrafish, for example, and add it as an include keyword, then this will be highlighted in the include color in titles and abstracts. And maybe I can add a word like mouse as an exclude keyword. And so that will be highlighted in the exclude color during screening. And so that doesn't change, the occurrence of these words does not change in any way the inclusion status of an article. It just draws your eye to those words in the title and abstract so that you can perhaps more quickly make a decision. A couple of more settings. You can include some detailed inclusion-exclusion instructions. So I can fill in a detailed paragraph here, for example, about what exactly constitutes the inclusion criteria for this review. It's a rich text edit box, so you can do things like bold or italicize instructions. You can have lists, etc. In this case, I actually have some screening instructions, so I'll just paste them in from another document. So let's see. So I'll paste those in and we'll be good to go. And then finally, this last setting is where you can decide to use active learning or not. Generally for level 1 screening, I imagine you would be using active learning, so you can just leave the setting at predicted relevance. But there are some scenarios where you might not want to use it. For example, suppose you're doing a pilot screening project, or for whatever reason you just don't want to use active learning, then you can set it to random. But I'll leave it as predicted relevance or active learning. So that's it. Those are some additional project settings. In order to apply them, make sure that you click the Save button and to save your project. In the next video, we're going to, now that we have all of our settings set up, we're going to talk about screening references, and I'll show you how that works.